The Steinhart Aquarium, it's kind of in my childhood DNA. Both my parents are scientists and had a lot of doing there with the Academy of Sciences. And of course, we spent a lot of time at the Academy as small kids and at the aquarium particularly. And then when I was probably about 12 or 13 years old, I started volunteering there. The earliest exposure was probably in the late 1960s when Earl Harold was still there. And I remember him kind of barking at people running around the aquarium and getting bitten on the palm of the hand by a piranha during Science in Action, and all kinds of foolishness that went on, and playing with the electric eels and so forth. But then volunteering in earnest was primarily during the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. You know, one of the best things I think about the original Steinhart Aquarium was the way that the enclosures were laid out. You really were able to get to know fish as individuals. So you really did get to see the personalities and realize that, you know, fish are very individual, just as individual as our own dogs and cats at home. You know, we had Ulysses the grouper was a favorite of everybody for many, many years, and he would recognize individual people. He would recognize me and come over and open his mouth and let me sort of do the job of cleaning his inside of his mouth and massaging his gills and all these kinds of things. But there were some people he really didn't like, and he would lay in wait for them. Yeah, and get a big mouth of water and just whoosh and just drench them. They had a shipment of confiscated baby Nile crocodiles at one point that came from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and they decided they were going to put them into the swamp with the alligators and so forth. But by the time the last one came out of the box, the first one had climbed out and was running down the corridor on the opposite side, and everybody was chasing after him, and then they all came charging back and it was chasing them, and so it was clearly not going to work. So we had sort of this reptilian roundup to deal with, and so it's just kind of just wild things that went on there. But it was just a nice place to get to know the different keepers and the animals that they really cared for. People knew in the community that if you had something that got too big for your tank, or you didn't know what to do with it, or you found it in your yard, you could just put it in a 5-gallon bucket and leave it at the back door. And so when you'd show up in the morning and there was like a 5-gallon bucket at the back door, you had to be very careful. And if it was a garbage can with a lid on it, back up, because you had no idea. So it might be like a rattlesnake somebody found in their yard. It might be a big, a pacu or an Oscar or something that got too big for the tank. But sometimes they could be really weird things. There was never a dull moment, and just a lot of camaraderie, I think. I hope that there'll be something in the future that'll kind of help focus in, so that we don't kind of think of fish just as sort of pounds of protein or swimming in lemon butter, but really understand that they are discrete individuals, and they really have a lot to share with us.